Okay, we just did go through population as well as which one? Population and what? The ones that we just did? Political. Okay. So we are now on legal aspect. The legal aspect, which we're saying that the education system is guided by the laws as well as guidelines. Just as much as we are just from being told that probably it is mandatory when coming to class, you need to have the registration slip. That is part of the guidelines, isn't it? That will confirm that all these students are what? Are registered students. Suppose lecturers are going to class and people are just attending sessions, are just coming from the compound and come and learn and go. Okay, you get it. So all those guidelines which are in place contributes in effective management of the education system. Not just that, at the end of the year, you'll be required to write exams, isn't it? You do not just pop up into the exam room and say, I've come to write the exam, isn't it? You need to be a registered student, you need to have written the expected number of assessments, isn't it? All those are regulations in place which ensures that there's quality in terms of what is happening in the learning environment. Okay. So that is the juridical or judicial aspect. We did also say that this aspect or this factor makes it possible for you to be recognized when you go to another country that you are a learned person, okay, because the country which you may be intending to go to, whether it's US, whether it's Europe, or other neighboring countries, Congo, Zimbabwe, and Malawi, for them to know that you did a diploma or you did a degree in Zambia and admit you to do a master's, they will probably look at the Zambian education system. Is it guided by quality regulations? Okay. Is the system effective? So that is what this particular factor tries to bring to our attention. We go to the factor on top, which is called logical. We did say that. Anyone comfortable to talk about the logical aspect? Logical and analytic aspect. Okay, this aspect or this factor is concerned with the planning aspect, the systematic organization which takes place in the education system. We know that in every learning environment, there's a curriculum to follow. Okay, they are assessments, they are timetables, isn't it? They are durations for learning and closing or going on recess. All that, there's probably the aspect of proceeding from one particular grade to the other. If it's at the tertiary level like this, there's a procedure for proceeding to the next year of your academic study. Okay. You don't just pop up in a particular year and say, I want to be enrolled in here. Okay. There are people who deliberately sit and put those things into consideration. They plan and implement them. So that is what signifies the logical or analytic aspect. It is that factor which pays attention to the planning, the organization, and systematization of what goes on in the education system. Okay, are we on the same page? Questions? Okay, that is very clear. We proceed to the next aspect. So which one now? We go to historical aspect. History, the fact that we are in the history class makes it even easier for us to know the effects which history has on the education system, isn't it? We need to overemphasize on that. My friend, can you come and talk about how you think history affects the education system? Okay. Our country, we know, has or was colonized by the British, isn't it? The colonization aspect also meant them introducing Western education to us. What we currently have is Western education. Okay. As it was handed or given to us by our colonial administrators. Other countries who were equally colonized by different other colonizing countries, they have also adopted the pattern of education system which those countries introduced to them. Okay. And that is how we can say history affects the education system. That being said, through this particular class, we've talked about the various trends of education systems which has taken place over the years from probably prior to independence to where we are now. Okay. Indigenous education, colonial education, missionary education, they all, in one way or the other, introduced some measures of what should be going on in the education system. And up to date, we still see some of those decisions which they were making, and we still use them even up to now. Okay. So all that signifies how history influences our education system. All right. Do you have any questions arising from that? Any questions arising on the history part? We proceed with religious. Yes.
Yeah, before we go to religious, on the same list of factors, can you say that even those scholars like John Doe and his colleagues can also attribute to the list of factors?
Okay. Definitely, we are just coming from he's asking a question on whether some scholars can be cited to having influenced the education system. We're coming from the topic where we say there are ground motives. Those are the key influences of the education system. Philosophy, political ideology, and religion. Okay. The philosophical part, we did say that each country tends to have or to embrace a category of philosophy which they implement in their education system. The Zambian case, we have said our education system was introduced to us by the British. Before the British came to Africa, they were exposed to Greek education. Okay, so they came, whilst before they came here, they had already known who Aristotle is, who Socrates is, who Plato is. Okay, and that is the type of education which they brought to us. Okay, so from that particular angle, Yes, scholars are part of this historical influence on our education system. Okay. All right. How? Which one? Okay. How is it affecting the education system? Okay. You write exams, isn't it? Why are you writing exams? The reason you're writing exams is because, of course, the type of education which was introduced to us was that which was supposed to be examined at the end of a particular period of time, okay, for a student. We progress in grades, isn't it? And that is exactly the type of education which was handed into us, that people should be able to progress in different stages, okay. Again, we see that influence directly coming from the philosophers, okay. Through the British, now we have it. So what we are doing now is not something new. It is something that is based on history, okay. In terms of how is it affecting, that is how it is affected, because what we are doing is in line with what the history demands. Okay. Questions? Okay. Is it a disadvantage or an advantage? Okay. If it's affecting something, can be both. Okay. We're looking at it from the positive side of it. Okay. At times, we can say history also has the negative side of it. Okay. In missionary education and colonial education, we did talk about the introduction of binary education system, one for the whites, one for the blacks. Okay. We come to today's education, we see the same trends happening. Okay. The schools which are quite highly expensive and a preserve for the elite, for the children of the elite in society. Okay. Where an ordinary man's child cannot even step a foot on. Okay. That is a disadvantage. You get it? Because the ideas of even forefathers in education, they talked about equality in education, isn't it? Remember, Socrates did talk about equality in education. Plato, Aristotle did talk about equality in education. You get it? But over the years, as we started progressing with these education ideas, we started bringing in inequality. And that still prevails up to this particular time. Even in some higher learning institutions, you find that some people are segregated based on various factors that we've talked about, isn't it? Some people are being punished. They are being told you can't pass my exam, okay, because your father is not in good terms with me. You get it? Okay. Those are realities of what is going on in the education system. Now, we are teaching you this today because you are the people who are going to be serving in those institutions. We do not want to see that type of a teacher, okay, who is going to behave or conduct themselves as though they are coming from the street, okay. You have to be professional. When they say you have to be professional, it means that you have to look at the positive aspect of providing education, services to the learners. Okay. All right.
Underpopulation and also
Definitely. Listen. On all of this, you can talk about the positive aspect, the negative aspect. Okay. The positive aspect of population is the fact that the more people, okay, let us assume that Zambia had a population of over 50 million people. Okay, out of these 50 million people, 40 million are adults and they are all highly learned. That will positively impact on the development of the nation because everyone will be able to be productive. Okay. As opposed to when you have 50 million people, 40 million adults who are illiterate, that country is heading for a catastrophe. Okay. When a country has high levels of illiteracy levels, there are high chances or high possibilities for that particular country to experience the unprecedented high levels of suffering. Okay. The reason countries world over have highly invested in the education system, and they're calling for high investment in the education system. It is an argument which some people want to refute. Like I can make it in life even without education, because there are some others who have made it in life without education. Okay. One philosopher was trying to argue on the concept, because some people, philosophers were arguing amongst themselves. Others were saying God exists. Others were saying God does not exist. The idea of God is not something. Then he came up with his argument. He said that, you know what? Okay, let us assume that God doesn't exist. And then you look at the millions of people who believe in him. Do you think all these people will be foolish, will just be wasting their time? The fact that you have so many people considering the fact that God exists, that makes it very much possible that he should be in existence. The same argument can be used with regard to education. The very fact that the millions of people who believe, who manages to send their children to school from preschool to university level with the assumption that education can make one succeed, do you think they will be stupid, these people? For you to come and say that no, education cannot make one successful. You get it? You see the comparison argument. So that is on the population aspect. Okay. All right. Can we proceed? Okay. Leave him. He's a free agent. Can you say I'm a free agent? He's a free agent. Okay, let him try. He wants to understand something. What did you say? Yes, under political. Okay, in terms of advantages. Can political conflicts, remember we did say political conflicts, we didn't say politics. Here we're looking at political conflicts. Political conflicts, can they be an advantage? Can they affect the education system positively? From the general perspective, the answer would be no. Okay, now listen, let me tell you something. I was listening to some international media where this girl from the Congolese family, you get it? You know, in Congo there's instability, isn't it? This child The mother was killed. So the father picked her and they started running. Along the way, the father was killed. You get the story? This child continued running until she reached some refugee camp, where at the refugee camp, she got some connections. She had to go to Angola from Congo. She had to go to Angola. From Angola, she was identified as a refugee, picked, taken to USA. You get it? From USA, she did medicine. This time she's a medical doctor. You get it? You'd probably argue that political conflicts made her to reach the level she has reached. If there was no war in Congo, she should be a villager by now. You get it? But of course, for you to come up with those arguments, you need to be creative, isn't it? In an exam, can you manage to do all that? Can you do that? Okay, fine. So we still have, in terms of religion, I think we have talked extensively about that, isn't it? The time we're talking about ground motives. The same can be said about religion, influences the education system in terms of the curriculum formulation, in terms of the values which people tend to have in the education system, isn't it? Racial factors has to do with race. Skin color, okay. Some schools can only accommodate Italians. For those of you who are coming from Lusaka, you should know that the Italian schools, the Indian schools, they are American schools, isn't it? They are French schools, isn't it? The concept of race is still a factor, and it has impacted on the way we provide education system. There's still that colonial mindset of saying the best education should be provided to a white or light-skinned person, and then a black person should be given just the survival skills so that they can be able to serve the white man better. Get it? That is, now, of course, you are going to serve the education system as managers. Okay, so we are reminding you that don't make racial segregation be the determinant of providing a quality education to others. Okay. Education should be provided equally without looking at the skin color of a person. Then we have the economic factor, and then aesthetic factor. Okay, time is on with us.